I now call on the public orator to present the honorary graduate, Malcolm Walker, CBE, for admission to his degree.
Vice-Chancellor, Sheriff, Mayors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. When Malcolm Walker told me the story of how Iceland Foods was founded, he said, "One Saturday night we were driving to the pub, and on some impulse in Farndon, there was a strawberry seller there, just backing up. And we stopped, and just for a joke really, we decided to buy his remaining stock of strawberries. We put them in the car boot. The next morning, we went to the Horseshoe Pass, set up a stall, and sold the strawberries." I thought he was going to go on and tell me an inspiring story of how he and his mate woke up the next morning and realized the strawberries were going to go off before they could sell them, and that's when they got the idea to package them into individual portions, freeze them, and sell them, and there begot the birth of Iceland Foods. But he didn't. He went on to say, "So after a few false starts, we got a shop open, and the only money we ever put in the kitty was £30 each." I was slightly disappointed. Malcolm's life story, however, is far from disappointing. There is much by which to be inspired. He was born in a mining village in the West Riding of Yorkshire. Indeed, his father worked in the mines, and Malcolm lost his father when he was 14 years old. He was educated at Mirfield Grammar School, which was described as a complete disaster, though Malcolm does have an O-level in woodwork, which is probably why he always thought he would end up as a joiner. What he got from his father before he died was a strong, hard-working work ethic. That was coupled with an unusual interest in business as a child. He would sell things like firewood, but then he started organizing dances. In the mining village, there was nothing to do at night except hang around at the fish and chip shop. So he organized a dance for cancer research. He then decided to organize them for himself and organized several. When the time came, his school's career advisor said, "What do you like doing?" "I like organizing things." And she replied, "Go into retail." He tried quite a few well-known companies to get on their trainee manager programs. He didn't get any interviews because he couldn't pass the maths test. But Britain's sixth largest company didn't have a maths test, so he got hired at Woolworths. At Woolworths, everyone started at the bottom, so Malcolm was in the stockroom for 2 years, then on to the sales floor for another 5. He claims that he wasn't very good at it, so he never ended up as a manager. But it did teach him independence and self-reliance. Now here's where that story about strawberries becomes important. Malcolm and his partner, who you'll remember also worked for Woolworths, had been doing well with their fruit and veg shops over the course of a year from 1970 to 1971, as a nice little sideline to their day jobs at Woolworths. It only cost them £30 each in startup costs. But Woolworths found out about this, and they weren't very pleased. They were summoned to the head office in Birmingham, and Malcolm recounts, had they said, "We'll promote you," we would have had to sell the shop, and I'd be a Woolworths manager. Looking at where that fruit and veg shop is now and where Woolworths is, I think getting sacked was a good career move for this 24-year-old. While I was disappointed about the ending to that strawberry story, it got a bit more exciting when Malcolm got fired. Even though Malcolm thought he hadn't learned anything at Woolworths, he had learned about retail. So he put his skills and energy into his new business. The real reason Malcolm and his partner got into frozen foods was because he had seen a shop selling bulk frozen foods. People didn't have freezers at home, so he was selling people that night's dinner, buying in bulk and selling in portions. The business grew, and more shops opened. Eventually, the business, in effect, became a ready meal shop. His wife came up with the name, and Malcolm served as Iceland's chairman and CEO for 30 years of continuous growth. Iceland Foods is now headquartered only 7 miles away in Deeside. Malcolm left Iceland in 2001 when he decided to retire. His first replacement didn't work out. He didn't see eye to eye with his second replacement. Malcolm didn't leave the company on good terms, and he was eventually pushed out. The turn of the millennium was not a good era for Iceland's foods, and the profits and morale plummeted. He returned as CEO in 2005 and returned it to a successful company once again. Today, Iceland Foods has over 900 stores in 5 countries, 23,000 employees, and sales of £3 billion. So he's made his 30 quid back. Both personally and with Iceland Foods Charitable Foundation, Malcolm has given millions to charities. He was personally responsible for forging a coalition of UK retailers to donate revenues from the single-use carrier bag charge to construct a new dementia research institute at University College London. Malcolm is also the chairman of the Individual Restaurant Company. He was awarded the Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, or CBE, in 1995. His autobiography, Best Served Cold, was published in 2013. He has been married to Rhiannon for more than 40 years, and his 3 children and 8 grandchildren. His leaving Iceland Foods won't be as abrupt as the last time, but at the same time, it looks like he might be loosening the reins a bit. At the moment, he says, "I don't have a day job. My role is to interfere." I'm sure that's a position a lot of us would like to be in. In trying to figure out what makes his company one of the top 10 companies in the UK to work for year on year, I asked him if he has ever been asked to do the fly-on-the-wall reality TV show Undercover Boss. His reply, "We've got 900 stores, 23,000 employees. Every single one of them would recognize me." Clearly, Malcolm is committed to his company and his people and recognizes that his company is just as much those 23,000 employees as it is the £3 billion in sales. He is a man motivated by growing his business, by looking forward to tackling problems, by trying new ideas, and by the fight of the business world. In the split second that I thought I had that Hollywood film strawberry story figured out, I was instead in the company of a man who was much more down to earth and practical than that. His own inspiration comes from the bits he gains from everyone and everybody, and I saw in him the self-proclaimed cowboy, maverick, and definitely entrepreneur. Vice Chancellor, in the name of the Senate and of the Council, I present to you for the admission to the degree of Doctor of Business Administration Honoris Causa, Malcolm Walker.
Congratulations. By virtue of the authority invested in me, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Business Administration Honoris Causa in this university. It gives me great pleasure to invite Dr. Malcolm Walker to address the congregation.
Well, it's a massive pleasure to be at this ceremony today and be honoured in this way by the great university of my home city of Chester. I only know two ways to get a university degree. One is to work hard at school, get good grades in your exams, win a place at university of your choice, and then work even harder when you get there. The other, the path I've accidentally chosen for myself, is to fail at school, never make it to university, get a job in retailing because your careers teacher told you to, and then wait 45 years until somebody asks you whether you'd like one. Obviously, it's massively unfair that I should simply be handed this doctorate in business administration without having to pass any exams. But then, as I'm sure you've grasped by now, life is unfair. And as Bill Gates said, it's fine to celebrate success, but more important to heed the lessons of failure. So I'd like to offer you the most important lesson that an academic failure can. It's simply this: believe in yourself and your ability to succeed, and never, never, ever give up in the face of setbacks, no matter how frequent and severe they may seem. My own two biggest breaks were being fired by Woolworths in 1971, because it made me focus on building up the little Iceland business I had already established as a sideline, and then by Iceland itself in 2001, giving me the opportunity to come back 4 years later, turn the business round and ultimately buy it back so I could run it the way I wanted. Even though I never got one myself, I made very sure that my 3 children all went to good universities, and I'm absolutely delighted that I outranked them academically. So congratulations to all of you who've really earned your degrees today, and thank you very much.